All right, so I'm going to need you guys to brace yourself for this one because I just found out that France released a trailer, an actual cinematic trailer, for a giant mechanical demon named Lilith, paired with a mechanical demon Minotaur. And both of these figures have deep roots in satanic and occult symbolism. And no, this was not a movie, okay? This was a government-funded public event that reached over 1 million people, including children, who watched from the streets live. And in this trailer, Lilith speaks in first person. So almost like an invocation or a ritual. And the craziest part is that most people don't even know this event happened. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over the trailer with you guys, watch that with you, and then break down the occult symbolism that was involved and unpack exactly what this means biblically. Because what you're about to see is one of the darkest displays at a public event that I've ever seen. So they come out swinging right away, basically, with an obvious display of occult symbolism and satanic worship elements. So excuse the frequent pausing that I have to do at the beginning here, because I will need to stop the clip a few times at the beginning to explain and unpack this. So check this out. So they open right away with the 2-ringed gate symbol. So this is connected to like portals or gateway imagery. Basically, it's like, the left circle could look like an entry point, and then you have the right circle, which would be like an exit point for the portal, which is like, the veil between two worlds. So this directly connects to Lilith's description of that you'll see later that she wanders from city to city in search of damned souls. And then the horizontal bar right here, this is like a cross-like element or a broken cross, which obviously you can understand what that means. That's mockery of Christian symbols or of Jesus' cross that he was crucified on. And then you have like the horn silhouette kind of at the top here. This kind of resembles horns or claws or like of a demonic silhouette. And this subtly mirrors the Minotaur, which you'll see later. Okay, so this right here, this structure forms a 5-pointed star. It's got 2 upper arms and then 2 lower spreading legs and like a central point. So though it's not like a perfect geometric pentagram, the silhouette and staging with like, the fire and the lights and all the dramatic effects signal pentagram imagery. So in occult symbolism, the upright pentagram represents nature or spirit alignment, and then the inverted pentagram represents rebellion or inversion. That's like satanic rites, basically. And this inverted pentagram typically will symbolize like as a whole reversal of divine order. So you see a lot of this in like the Freemason symbology as well. And there's extremely like goat-like elements. You've got like horn shapes at the top. You've got the Baphomet imagery, which Baphomet is just is basically Satan. Okay. So this is how most cultures view Satan is the pentagram is a very widely understood satanic symbol. So even without the goat head, the composition is pretty much unmistakable here. And then the last one that I have to stop for is you have the Triple Serpent or the triple spiral symbol. The first thing I noticed was that it's got a 666 very clearly. And serpent imagery, which if you look close, you can see the serpent's mouth is opening here at the top. Serpent imagery is, as you can imagine, a reference to the serpent, which is Satan. A lot of serpent worship or pagan god worship from ancient cultures, they worship the serpent, which is Satan. So there's a writhing motion, serpent head, and in occult symbolism, it just represents hidden knowledge, which like in the Garden of Eden, the serpent promised hidden knowledge to Adam and Eve. So, or rebellion, temptation, or even an awakening, right? So the 3 lower circles form like a triskeleton-like shape. And this represents feminine triads, dark lunar mysteries, ritual portals yet again. And then you've got the fire and circle imagery as well, which is like all strewn throughout here. And that represents portals as well. So, the fire intensifies the symbol, of course, because fire, especially in the occult, represents purification or destruction or like transformation, if you will. So again, it's all about false knowledge and a false deception that you can be your own God.
jetterai au vent. Je suis Lilith, la première.
And pay attention to the bottom. I actually added English subtitles to this. This is the invocation that is being narrated as if Lilith, aka this big demonic-looking statue here, is saying.
Première femme, femme d'Adam. Je n'ai peur de personne, ni d'Anès, ni de Satan. Je suis Lilith. La dernière, je resterai jusqu'à la fin des temps. Vous ne m'oublierez jamais, ni dans vos nuits, ni dans vos rêves. Je suis Lilith, la guerrière. Je brise les ailes du vent. Je ne crois en rien, je dévore le soleil, j'avale la lumière, je fracasse le mur du temps. Je suis Lilith.
La jeune fille sombre n'a pas de nom, pas d'origine. Ses yeux sont transparents.
And then obviously you see the Minotaur, which is also reminiscent of Baal worship, which we discussed in one of my previous videos, but also an ancient false god.
Couleur de l'eau. Ses yeux sont un miroir, de lune d'argent froid où je me noie, où je me perds. Les danseurs tombent, le palais se remplit de squelettes blancs, les ronces envahissent les murs du Capitole. Le néant la précédant et le vide la suit. Le néant la précède et le vide la suit. Tout se plie, tout se courbe. Elle danse dans l'ombre des pierres. Son silence est noir.
Okay, so lots to go over here, but it's painfully obvious that this was an attempt to mock God. And the most shocking part is that the French government actually funded this event. It's a public event, and they encouraged kids to join in. If you looked closely in some of the clips, you could see kids, throughout the crowd, and encourage them to join. So the enemy is getting more bold and more bold every day. And it's important for Christians to be aware of these things. So let's break this down in a biblical sense so you can understand it a little bit better. So what does the Bible say about these demon hybrids, right? And here's the part I need you to catch. These hybrid creatures, women with horns, a woman with mixed and spider or scorpion, half man, half bull, minotaur. This isn't random mythology, right? This is actually extremely biblical. So in Genesis 6, the Bible tells us about fallen angels that left their proper domain and mixed with human women. In Genesis 6:1, it reads, "When man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born unto them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose." So what it's saying is that basically fallen angels, which when it says sons of God, this phrase always refers to divine or spiritual beings. Okay, throughout the Old Testament, you see that in Job 1:6 or in Job 2:1, also Job 38:7. That just means that these are angels, not humans, right? So they crossbred with human women. Then the Lord said, "My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh, his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days," meaning the hybrid offspring. And also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. So the text plainly says basically there were heavenly beings that reproduced with human women and producing offspring, or a polluted version of God's creation. So this is literally hybridization, a crossing of species that God never intended. So this union created the Nephilim, which were giants or hybrids, corrupted beings that polluted God's creation. So this was such a violation of God's design that it triggered the judgment of the worldwide flood. And that's why you had the flood itself. So all throughout the Bible, you have hybrids that are symbolism or symbols of corruption or rebellion. And we look at, for example, the beasts in Daniel and Revelation. There's hybrid creatures mentioned, part lion, part bear, part leopard, representing empires that were influenced by darkness. So pagan nations typically worshipped hybrid gods, so like human-animal combinations. You see this a lot in Egyptian culture, for example. So when we talk about the occult significance of this event, we have to start by looking at Lilith, because she's the centerpiece of the entire story. So in occult traditions, Lilith is a major figure, and she's looked to as like Adam's rebellious wife. So to be clear, that's not biblical. This is occult tradition, right? This story of Lilith. So Adam's rebellious first wife, which is like a demoness who leaves Eden and seduces men and harms children, and represents the darker side of feminine power, witchcraft, and chaos. So basically, this is the enemy's version of the creation story, and what occultists are being fed is this lie about what really happened in the Garden of Eden and the story of humanity, right? So the Minotaur, on the other hand, carries the same weight. So in Greek myth, he's born from a supernatural union, and it involves a divine bull, which is a hybrid being trapped in a labyrinth who devours sacrifices. So the bull itself is tied to Baal or Moloch, which are other ancient gods, associated gods, lowercase g, associated with idolatry and child sacrifice. So super dark stuff, right? A bull-headed creature instantly signals spiritual rebellion. So that's why they had that in this parade. So combine that with humanity, and you have a symbol of corrupted creation, okay? So when you see a modern government-funded event parading hybrid entities, a demoness with horns, a spider woman, a minotaur, that's not just art, people, okay? That's spiritual symbolism, and it's right in front of your face, and it's tapping directly into the same themes that the Bible uses when it wants to portray what happens when creation is tainted, or when there's rebellion and corruption within creation. So let's not get it twisted. We are in a spiritual battle, and this is why Christians need discernment, especially right now in what I would believe are the latter days, because the world is normalizing this stuff, and this exact imagery that God told us was a sign of spiritual rebellion. So it's kind of coming full circle, right? Back to the beginning of the Bible, the beginning of the story. As Jesus said, the last days would be like the days of Noah. And this is exactly what this is referencing. If this breakdown did open your eyes at all, please do me a favor and just go ahead and hit like. And if you're not subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe and turn notifications on so that you don't miss out on moments like this. I do pretty much every week, I do a biblical analysis of things that are going on in culture. So if you liked this video, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe so that you never miss out on moments like this. And by you engaging, it does help push out these videos to more people that need to see it. So that would be greatly appreciated. And if you guys want something Christ-centered to shift your mind back to God, especially after watching all this dark symbolism going on in the world, make sure to check out my Kingdom 180 Spotify playlist. It's free. I update it every week with the best Christian music out there from pretty much every genre, which honestly is a lot better than the mainstream music that is out there today. So go ahead and hit the link in the description, and I will send the Spotify link to you. All right, that's going to about do it for me. It's going to wrap it up for me, guys. As always, stay bold. Don't forget to share the gospel this week with someone new, and never forget that Jesus loves you. All right, peace.